Welcome, one and all, to the finale of Ranking the Dreamcast, the series in which I escape my crippling League of Legends addiction to explore classic consoles. We've had highs and lows over the series. We might find the best game yet, and we might find the worst game yet. Here's a quick recap of the rules. For multi-platform games, I'm only playing games that had their best version of release on the Dreamcast. I'll be rating each game to my own scale, based on how much I would recommend that you go and play this game. And at the very end of the video, I'm going to do a massive roundup. I'll be ranking them from worst to best. Let's kick the finale off with...
Welcome to the world of Street Fighter 3. Prepare for battle.
Third Strike might just be the perfect fighting game. The barrier to entry is low, and the skill ceiling is on the moon. Even I, with no experience, can pull off a super with no problem in the first game. But the computers give me enough challenge that they'll still beat me in the same round. Easy to understand, takes a lifetime to master. Perfect blend. What I do know about Street Fighter is that Alex Valle is my hero, so you know I had to pick Hugo. Not quite as good as him though. I really love the idle animations in this game. Look at his fucking swagger, bro. Oh my god.
Ain't no way. Nah.
Nah, I got fucked. Honestly, I've got no jokes. It's flawless. Stylized, fun to play, huge roster, even bigger thighs, snappy as you like. This is the fighting game. You must play it. You can enjoy Japanese croquet unique to this game.
Ain't no way. Mate, I love Japanese croquet.
I thought we were playing croquet, bro. What's this?
It's croquet.
I mean, he's not wrong. It is croquet. Back to the matters at hand though, this game lets you choose your golf balls, and you can choose your clubs. I feel like I've got to do a defense of this game, because I actually think it's pretty good. Look, the graphics aren't blowing anyone away, let's just get that out of the question. Visually, could be a Game Boy game, but if you can look past that, it's pretty good. Golf games have a habit of being either way too easy or way too hard, and this finds a nice middle ground. Essentially, the more power you go for by aiming at the top, the faster the meter will go, and the smaller the zone will be at the bottom. Makes it very satisfying when you do this. Oh no! Oh! Smurfed it! Oh.
P-formed.
Now I've done it.
If you like golf games, you could play this. Acapella courtesy of Lorenzo, thank you for filling in the copyrighted music. Star Wars Racer is an impressively boring game. Now you might think 500-mile-an-hour racing at Mach 10 speeds would be fun, but you'd be wrong. They managed to make it boring. Impressively dull. The races are so void of anything. There might be 12 opponents, but you'll be lucky to see 3. And the only threat you have is yourself. Every single course is a series of long straights, and maybe if you're lucky you'll get a turn or two. They've got the entire Star Wars universe to make sick tracks, but look, it's just straight, maybe another straight. Real life circuits are more interesting than these. You shouldn't play this unless you really love pod racing. Trying to understand the story of Super Magnet Neo will give you a headache. Would you believe that was all the same cutscene? This is like Japanese game show levels of crazy. I don't even quite know what the objective is. Am I taking down bad guys? Am I doing an obstacle course? I couldn't tell you. The characters move around nicely, I guess? It'd be harsh to call this bad, but can I really call it good? I think it's trying to be too quirky for its own good, even for 90s Japan. I somehow only managed to acquire the demo disc for this game, so unfortunately, that's all there is. Probably shouldn't play. Suzuki Extreme Racing is one of those games where the game isn't fun, but you can do fun things. Fuck it. You could play it if you really like MotoGP games. I've got more to say than you might expect for this one. I've played my share of boat racing games so far. It's definitely not as good as Hydro Thunder, but it's way better than Aqua GT. I feel like I've got fair critique for this, because it does a lot of things right. The graphics look great, the environments are pretty cool. They caught some of the thrill of jet skiing, but just not all of it. For example, the Rome circuit, they flooded the streets and you can drive around the Colosseum. A fairly cool fantasy concept, but outside of that, it can just get a bit boring. You can end up floating around half-assed for a lot of the time, but then you get stunning shots like this. It does have some highlights. I think they should have gone more fantasy. The real life locations are cool, but they could have really amped it up a peg or two. You know, really Dreamcastify it. Let me jet ski into space or something. If you really love boat racing, give it a try. Star Wars Jedi Power Battles features everyone's favourite 240p heroes. You don't remember Adi Gallia? A highlight from this game was the extendo. Why is his lightsaber so big? What the fuck? But apart from that, it was just another unremarkable game. I like slicing up droids as much as the next guy, but it's one of these awkward Dreamcast games that's neither great nor bad, which makes it one of the least fun games to play. At least if it was terrible, it would be funny. This generation of Star Wars games really didn't hit the mark, especially when you compare them to the next generation like Battlefront and Rogue Squadron. It's not worth revisiting. Sword of the Berserk, however, is worth revisiting. I plan to watch the anime at some point, so I decided that I was going to play this game by skipping the cutscenes. 1 minute I'm just walking about, minding my own business, and then... Christ. Fucking hell.
Yeah, no, I'd say.
Is this the one where they say Griffiths did nothing wrong?
Griffiths did a lot wrong.
Don't spoil, James. The developers decided that, hey, let's have the whole game be the fun part. Here's a big sword, go mow down some demons, and I will oblige. In a weird way, it reminds me of God Hand. Just go murder all of the enemies in a certain area, and that's the mission. I really like when you go into the rage mode as well. Swing like your life depends on it, because it does. But it's not just complete brain dead swinging. In close quarters, it pays to get your fists out, because when you swing the sword and it hits a wall, it will stun you. But it's never long before you're right back to... I imagine if you've watched or read Berserk, this will be even better for you. But I haven't, and I still thought it was a great game. I do appreciate the accessibility. It's not easy either, and when you get low on health, you can really have to clutch out some situations with your rage meter. You take no damage while enraged, so you've got a short amount of time to kill everyone in the vicinity. Which is especially important if you're a complete simpleton like me and didn't realise that you've got a health button on the D-pad. Oh! And a gun on the D-pad. Plenty of variety of things to kill, and plenty of satisfaction gained from doing so. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 is incredible. How on earth does a game that's over 25 years old still stand the test of time in a series that's had over 20 entries? And it still makes the top 5 for most people. The perfect soundtrack is only exemplified by the fact that you can go and watch the music videos in-game. I imagine it cost a lot, but what a great decision. No frills, all fun. Jumping off the school roof to earn yourself a cassette tape? Perfect. This game rewards you for doing everything that you would want to do as a 90s kid but weren't allowed to. The mission is to skate in an empty mall, and the objective is to smash the windows. It sounds simple, but it's so effective, because that's what you wanted to do as a punk in the 90s, I imagine. The majority of my audience is way over 30, so please let me know if this was the case. Growing up, this wasn't my Tony Hawk's game. That was reserved for Pro Skater 3. But even coming back all of these years later, you can clearly see that this is one of the best. It's a real testament to the series about being inspired from the time they were made. Like Underground 2 having a Jackass theme. The original is all about being a punk. But there were so many rumours going around school about where all the secret tapes are. The game is summed up for me in the downhill jam level. Take all of the skills you've learned up until now, and go and have fun. Here's the biggest gaps, go and jump them. Here's the biggest rails, go and grind them, or miss. There's just a feeling to this game that I can't quite describe. From the sound effects, to the levels, to the designs, it just has a certain gritty aura about it. This is the grandfather of skateboarding games, and it did such a good job bringing it into the limelight. And with my reviews, I don't even factor in things like that. I review games for what they are, and what this game still is a masterpiece. get your notepad out, write this game down at the top of the list, and go get yourself a Dreamcast. I promise you won't regret it. There's no Rodney Mullen? 1 out of 10. You know it's when the loading icon is a foot.
Oh no.
In a galaxy far, far away. This stupid orange prick is hunted down by equally moronic hitman. After watching his boys get iced.
Hey guys, you'll never believe what I just saw on TV!
He makes a run for it to the bog. Oh, was it a point?
Oh, it's a point.
I was not ready for a point and click. Yeah, the perfect time
Just
to
gonna-
take a shit, dude.
I am never eating at Chili John's again!
Unfortunately, opening the door didn't progress the story.
This game is insane.
Now, I'm not a total noob to point and click. I managed to play RuneScape for 10 years. But the first level took it to the next degree of bull. Thankfully, Lorenzo had a plan.
You see the little hanging string on the toilet?
Yep. Oh, okay.
That sound reminds me of my mother-in-law's baptism.
Okay.
Now use the... now you should have a plunger with a string.
No. Okay, I've used the plunger on the toilet and I'm going to pull the chain. It's going to splash me in the face like a...
Sound reminds me of my mother's baptism.
Okay, take a shit.
As it turns out, it had nothing to do with taking a shit. All of this is just the first room. There's plenty more left of the game. First, there's a murder. Is he dead? Is that his eyeballs? Bollocks dead. Then the alien reads a porn magazine. This really happens. Incredibly, despite all of that, you should play it. It's a genuinely fun game. Maybe not for too long though. Tom Clancy's Rogue Spear is a game where you need a master's degree to play. What the f***?
What am I looking at?
Whatever it meant, I'm sure it wasn't this.
Mission failure. Your team is wiped out.
Kiddo.
It hasn't aged all that well. Tokyo Extreme Race is an interesting one for me. Wait, I get the AA6.
That's insane.
It was insane, and you know I had to pick the 11. This is every Wangan Highway Initial D fan's dream game, to a point. The gameplay loop is swerving in and out of traffic on the highway and trying to beat your rival. You do this by catching up to them, overtaking them, and then pulling away. There's no set finish line. Car collection is one of the best I've ever seen. It's got nearly every single classic. If you like JDM, this is near perfect. It has everything you'd ever want. And the story mode has you free roam around the city and initiating street races. This sounds perfect, but it just falls a bit flat. I think Inner City or the Toge would have been a better choice. A variety in cars doesn't mean all that much when you're just going for top speed 90% of the time. But I must admit, visually and audially, I am impressed. VTech sounds great. It is a shame, but I just can't recommend this game over any of the others in the franchise. It's hard to justify revisiting when the new one looks so great. All in all, it's still a fairly good game. UEFA Dream Soccer might just be the best football game on the Dreamcast. It's got all of your favourite completely licensed players. It is like mystery football though. The camera doesn't actually let you see where you're passing to. Oh! Red pen red!
Two pens.
Pen.
Yeah.
Penalties are exciting.
Get there then. Who's number 10 for England? Who am I playing as?
Might be Owen.
Oh.
What a pen.
It was Michael Owen. Once you get the camera angle sorted out in the settings, it's definitely the best football game so far. If you want to trip down memory lane, give it a spin. You could play it. This game was so bad it turned Lorenzo into a graphic designer.
The HUD is all over the place. Speed on the right in blue, then in the top is green, then on the left it's blue again, and then in the bottom left it's blue, and then on the bottom right it's yellow. Like, it's just all over the place.
I explained this so eloquently. It's also jarringly similar to a game called SSX. in like a really jarring way. It's like when you go to a restaurant and get a pizza, and then you go to the frozen section and buy a pizza. This game's just a fragment of what SSX would later become, and it just reminds you of something better. It doesn't handle well, it doesn't look good, and it's just not fun, but it has all the right ingredients. Coming soon.
Still bringing out content.
Is there DLC? There's a surprising amount of games that try to replicate toy warfare. And I think this is the best one I've played yet. Dreamcast or not, this is the game that captures the essence of it the best. You get to cruise around in so many different vehicles. Performing household tasks becomes fun. Dropping a sugar in a tea is exhilarating. You can gun down apples, fly into a cat, knock eggs into a pot. It's probably cliche to say, but this is exactly what was going on your mind when you're a kid playing with toys. However, like most Dreamcast games, it's brutally hard. I don't know if you're a kid if you could beat this game. The opening missions don't take any prisoners. My favourite level is when the kitchen sink was left on too long and the whole kitchen floods. You have to blow up submarines and protect this little boat. It's funny how carefully crafted these smaller titles are. There's so much to do and so many vehicles to pick. So many different levels, you unlock parts of the house at different times. And yeah, I've never heard of this game. I never hear people talk about it, I've never seen gameplay of it. But it's just a brilliant game.
And a bit Sean.
The driving part reminds me of Micro Machines, which they definitely need to make another game of. Anyone have these as a kid? You should play this. Honestly, it's good. There's no romance in this, they're just blowing each other up. In a game about giant mechs, you'd think there'd be more than one attack button, but you'd be wrong. This is a really bizarre game because I think it sucks, but a little part of me did like it. I think I like the impact sounds the most.
Extreme Impact.
I would really love to know why it's called Tech Romancer though. This is not romantic. My best character was this one where she's got a village on her head and various buses for arms, and is a small child for some reason. All four buttons.
It can be blocked, so you need to make sure that ain't no way. Oh, what? Huh? You invite him for tea?
Don't play it though, there's so many better fighting games. Speaking of, Virtua Fighter is a game that I didn't really like when I first played it. I played a couple of rounds and thought it was mid. But then I realised that it takes a different approach to most of the fighting games. Take this with a grain of salt, but it's more based in reality than anything else I've played. There's no power-ups or crazy supers, the ring-outs are 2-foot drop. But because it's real, everything feels so much more impactful. The time between rounds was a bit long though. I really like the exclusion of anything crazy like supers and big combos. It makes you focus on your fighting game fundamentals. There's no gimmicks, you've just got to be better. I'd be tempted to call it a purist's fighting game. And the more I played, the more I really grew to appreciate it. This is what you'd play if you really wanted to compare the skill of two players. But by far, my favourite part about this game is just how painful everything looks and sounds. Nasty backhand. This small drop just looks devastating. I can just feel the cold and the pain from that, let alone this. But that's not all, because the music's amazing, the stages are amazing, the backgrounds are great. You fight in so many locations. You know when I said it was based in reality? Maybe this stage where I kill this guy off the top of a skyscraper is a bit far-fetched. But you should play it. There might only be 2 Olympics games on the Dreamcast, but this is the best one. I thought I was pretty good at mashing, but these guys cooked me. There's classic no controls showed. Track and field is my gold standard for Olympics games, and this is definitely worthy of being in the same category. I don't think people appreciate these games enough. If you've got a couple of boys around and a couple of beers, there's nothing better than an Olympics game. Be sure to time your jump right though. If you're lucky enough to have some friends, Get them around to play this. It's better than most of the modern entries, I think. For the right person, you could play this. V-Rally 2 is god-awful. You can't have a game not look good on the Dreamcast. But they do have a Peugeot 106. And I love a French hot hatch as much as the next guy. But it's not enough to save a game like this. This game is shocking. Plenty of better rally games before and after. You shouldn't play this. So this game came out, and I don't think tennis games have changed since at all. And I don't think that's a bad thing. From Mario Tennis to Top Spin, they all follow the formula of this, and it works perfectly. It's nice to go back and visit the grandfather of tennis games. And it's definitely still playable because none of the other games do anything different. If you like tennis games, you'll love this. I'd love to know how they made the sound effects. They sound odd. I've played some aggressively bad arcade ports, but by god, this might just take the cake. What is bro screaming at? This is aggressively bad, do not play tier.
He didn't drink the real powder.
It's real.
Unreal Tournament is a game that you shouldn't play on the Dreamcast, but if you do, turn off this 1v1 boring mode. This game's all about killing everyone with a rocket launcher. The joy in this game comes from mowing down hordes of enemies and being 1v9. It doesn't shy away from being shameless chaos, and for that it has my respect. Controls aside, I still really like it. You should play it on PC, but you could play it on the Dreamcast. This JRPG got off to a good start, which is rare. The character's name is hilariously Sword. And the turn-based combat, miraculously, doesn't waste your time. Look at this. This is how you make turn-based. No cutscenes, just fight. This game doesn't waste your time. For that, and for the expansive lands, different places to visit, princesses to save, cool places to go, this game gets my respect, and you definitely could play it. Wacky Races is a comically ambitious kart racer. When I first played, I started off by picking the Turbo Terrific, which was obviously a mistake. I should have been Penelope Pitstop. To kick things off, this game has an open world. You can drive around in the desert, you can drive around in the sand, you can drive around in the lake. I think hub worlds make any game 10 times better. The racing is not half bad too. What it does best is it keeps the game fun at all times. You're constantly getting blown up or attacked, and that's because everyone is so bunched together. I don't know if it's a special rubber banding that they've used, but 9 times out of 10 there's all 8 cars on screen. Keeps you engaged for the whole race. This is an honest game, and if you like car races, you could give it a go. UFC. Really strange game. All that happened for me was I punched this guy in the head for about 20 minutes. And the punches are the most obvious drum kit sounds I've ever heard. And then he made me tap before I could play. You probably shouldn't play it. Man, the fighting games that aren't fighting games sure do struggle. This is a personal assault to my ears. I'm so sorry you have to listen to this too. Do not for any reason play this. It sucks. And the very last game on the list, Zombie Revenge.
Hey, look, it's G.
Ain't no. Wait, is this to do with Red?
Wait.
It's not music.
Unbeknown to us, this turns out it's a side quest to the House of the Dead. It works in all the similar ways, just in third person.
What the fuck? That zombie has a fucking gun.
Wait, he's got a fucking
Bullets.
Don't walk on the fire. Everything from the House of the Dead transfers completely over to this. It's just as campy, and it's just as bizarre.
She's got tits, bro.
Real.
Throwback. If you like House of the Dead, give it a shot. If you like funny voice acting, you could definitely play this. And I've got some loose ends to tie up. Somehow I missed Marvel vs. Capcom 2. One of the most important fighting games of all time. My experience and knowledge of this game comes down to watching it at EVO. I don't really know what it's like from a casual's perspective. I was slightly worried that it might not be good, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Before I even talk about the gameplay, the art style is incredible. The pixelated characters in the foreground, contrasting the full HD and super smooth background, looks amazing. And on top of that, you've got one of the best soundtracks to boot. Even if you were to take away all of that, you've still got a silky smooth team fighter on your hands. Everything is intuitive, and it's not too scary for a beginner. It can get a bit hectic, but I never felt overwhelmed. I think the roster was really good too. I could be Jill Valentine teaming up with Zangief. This is a game that you could definitely come back to, because it plays just as good, if not better, than most modern fighting games. It really does feel like they could release this today and I wouldn't bat an eye. Maybe not such a bad idea. A remaster would do nice. I'm definitely going to look more into this as well. I need to go and watch the top EVO sets for this for sure. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a masterpiece. And I have no hesitation to say that you must go and play this. Grandia 2, this is for you. You didn't think I'd forget, did you? This is the last Dreamcast game I'm going to review, and it's a JRPG? Am I going to end on a low? This is a game about a boy and his bird, and by God, this boy runs fast. My main critique of this game is that the character moves too fast. I can't take anything in when I'm running at the speed of sound. And after Skies of Arcadia, I always go into these games with a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I'm so concerned that it's just going to waste my time and nothing's going to be of any use. But I found myself wanting to play more. The characters are genuinely charming, and the combat's got a fun little quirk to it too. Essentially, the turn order is dictated by this little bar at the bottom. The closer you are to the act, the closer you are to attacking. It's a nice visual indicator to what's going on, so you're not completely left in the dark. Don't get me wrong, it'd be better if it wasn't turn-based, but this isn't too bad. The story is fairly interesting too. All of the characters are racist to the Geohounds, which is what you are as the main character, and it throws you straight in. No crazy tutorials, just straight to the game. I especially like the dynamic between you and the bird. It's like Banjo-Kazooie, except this time the bird isn't a... I was genuinely charmed by this game. If you can stomach the time sink, and you can get past a JRPG, I think this game has a lot to offer. And with that, let's get on to the award show. You should play it. Welcome everyone to the Dreamcast Award Show. It's time to hand out awards for the best, worst, and everything in the middle. First up is Hidden Gem. This is the game that surprised me the most. Something I've never heard of. Here are the candidates. F355 Challenge, easily the best racer. Toy Commander, a fantastic game that's never discussed. Dreamcast Extreme Sports. This flew really under the radar, but it's fantastic. Dragon's Blood, an incredible RPG that I've never heard once. Or Fighting Vipers 2, a really funny fighter. And the winner is... Dragon's Blood. A real diamond in the rough. Please go out and play this game. Up next is the category of Most Dreamcast Game. This is the game that most sums up the Dreamcast. Cutting edge and revolutionary, but didn't quite meet the mark of expectation. Our candidates are Omicron, truly one of the most bizarre games I've ever played. Dynamite Cop, quintessential crazy Dreamcast game. Space Channel 5, bizarre to the core. Rez, more of an experience than a game. And Stupid Invaders, really stupid. And the winner is... It's Omicron. No one's ever played it. Dreamcast by David Bowie. Really bizarre concept. Had to be the winner. The next category, eventually, is the best viewer game. This is the game that my friends enjoyed me streaming the most. They came together and decided a winner for this. Legacy of Kain was a really fun game that got all of us involved. Echo the Dolphin was a game they really enjoyed watching me rage at. Headhunter was easily the funniest game we played. Power Stone, another really hard rage bait, hours on end. Stupid Invaders is Stupid Invaders. And the winner is... Headhunter. This might be the only award it ever wins, but it really did deserve it. This game was hilarious. The final decision was changed multiple times. Really could have been anyone's game. And with all of that, that's the minor categories out of the way. Time to get on to the big hitters. If we could turn the lights down, please. Thank you. One of the most prestigious awards of the night. Worst game. Here are your contenders. Charge and Blast, Dragon Riders, Chicken Run, Virtua Striker, and the wrestling game. And the winner is... It's ECW Anarchy Rules, but really, it's all of the wrestling games. They're all just as bad. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. What is the best game? Here are your candidates. Sonic Adventure 2, Dead or Alive 2, Power Stone 2, Shenmue, and Sega Marine Fishing. It didn't take me too long to decide, because really, there was only ever going to be one winner. It was never really a question, was it? This game is so far ahead of its time, and it's easily the best game on the Dreamcast. Thank you so much for watching. This has taken me well over 12 months to create, and as bizarre as it might sound, has been a life-changing experience. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time for the Xbox.